Hey, ladies, if you have always wished that you could work with me personally in a small, intimate setting, I have some great news. For the first time in over a decade, now that things are opening up, I cannot wait to get my hands on you personally. So we have opened up application to our Plug into Your Superpower retreat to the public. So apply now and see if it's a good fit for you. Just go to datingwithdignity.com/plug into form. I cannot wait to meet you in person. Again, that's datingwithdignity.com/plug into form.
You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Chris Gillis. Love is Blind recap. Is it really a deal breaker or can you compromise? Ladies, welcome to another grand ole episode of Life Check Yourself. I went to the Grand Ole Opry on Friday. And they call it the Grand Ole Opry. And yeah, it was really super cool. Have you ever been there?
Think I popped my head in. Does it have does it smell like an old opera house, as you would imagine?
No, but it used to be the Ryman Theater, which is in the city, and that is where the Opry used to be. Fun fact, the Grand Ole Opry is a radio show that they used to have at the Ryman Theater, and then they built like a whole massive modern place.
So I was just there for Theo Vaughn, the comedian. I kind of lucked out and became friends with him, quasi friends with him. Yeah, he gave us tickets there, and I was in the Ryman House. I didn't know that, and I think it did have, but it was all crickety and old. It was like being on the old Titanic ship, and it was funky though.
Yeah, it's
definitely
super cool.
In Los Angeles.
Oh my God, so different. So yeah, so that's where I was, and now as we record this, I'm in the Smoky Mountains. It's been raining for like 17 hours straight. Good times. But it gave me a lot of time to watch another episode of Love is Blind. And there's so much to talk about at this episode. So one of the things
you know why I was chomping at my bits. Remember, I was like, oh my God. I was like, hurry up, Marni, let's watch. It's so much happens. There's so much to talk about and unpack. And so
it's so good. So one of the things that I just think is really interesting about this is the whole idea about, we talk all the time about, you have your non-negotiables and your deal breakers. And what's really interesting is in this episode, someone said, I've only known you for 7 days and I've spent more time talking to you than I did someone I was dating for 6 months, having like deeper conversations. And what I like is they're asking really great questions. And so one of the questions that came up, they are really intentionally talking about big issues sometimes. And so there's this idea about faith and Christianity and religion. And I think it's kind of like one of those topics that often people just sort of don't directly talk about. They just think they'll figure it out, or they make an assumption, or they don't discuss any expectations that they might have. And so one of the things that comes up on this show is that Shayna and Kyle have a conversation about faith, and Shayna, crop top girl, I'm wearing like a crop top. Crop top. And she is really got a strong faith, and she goes to church, and I love that she was really specific. Like, if we were going to have a family meal and we have babies, like, what, and I want to say grace. And he's like, well, I would make fun of it. I would like mock you. And they both get really quiet, which I actually was like, oh, this is good. They're realizing, that this is a big issue. And then what's his name? Kyle just is like, never mind.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this whole idea? Like, is that something that you could just kind of work around? Is it like did he make a mistake? Did she make a mistake because she said yes to getting engaged?
Right. I think also it's worth noting here, bullet pointing, because we brought this up before, is he goes, people use their parents so often as models for their expectations, or
Yes.
that must be how I need to do it. Either I remember I told you I got a good friend, and his parents were married within like 2 months of meeting each other, or engaged within, and some people are just like, I just got to do it. For some reason, I got to do what parents do. And then he was like, wait a second, I just remembered my mom and dad, right, fought like cats and dogs over religion. So it's just, that sounds perfect. It's again, mother's milk again, home sweet home, which is, interesting considering, we oftentimes don't live with our parents and aren't engaged with them anymore after we evolve into our own adult selves. So, I think it's important to continue to explore and say, well, what does that mean to you? You're pretty good about asking that, Marnie. So, for instance, okay, hey, I practice a certain faith, or in this case, he's atheist. Well, what does that mean to you? And if it just, I guess, figure out what it means. If it means that his atheism beliefs, the most way it's going to, interfere with her life is just him saying a snide comment, but she's got to do that once a day, at dinner time for the rest of her life, then, really maybe have a dry run or something like that.
Well, that's what happens in the show. They get to have a dry run. But I think it's interesting too, because what happens in the conversation, and I actually would say this conversation was a hearty, good one, is that she's like, well, is this about like religion, or is this about like you just don't believe in a higher power kind of? And he was like, I don't. I'm a science guy, like Big Bang Theory. And they could have even taken that. And she's like, well, then, like, when you're in a struggle, like, do you pray to God? Like what if how do you manage through struggles? Or what would you do if we had a loss in our life, or a struggle, or, how do you find guidance? And so I think they had like the tip of the iceberg conversation, and I give them, it's way more than we ever see on The Bachelor. So yay. Yeah. But what I think is interesting is, and this is the mistake that people make often, is they get data about someone and they're like, never mind. Right? Yeah. Like, that won't really matter. They like convince themselves. And it's funny, I'm watching another show now, which is not a reality show. It's a drama. But this woman is dating someone and she finds out he's bipolar. And he's like, honestly, I'm not a really great person to date. I don't think you should date me. I think I'm a lot. I don't take my medication because I think it impacts my ability to, do my work. And she's like, oh, but you're amazing. And I'm okay with that. And he's like, you say that now, but like, you don't know what it's like. The ability that we have to just ignore our internal truth is mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I started watching another show as well last night. What is the one?
Are you watching the Ultimatum one?
Yes, thank you.
Oh my God, you gotta wait for me, Christopher.
You're on the road, baby. Let's go. I'm dying. I'm not getting to watch Love Is Blind. So I was like, okay, I'm like cheating on you with all these shows.
I know you really are. It's okay.
but it's doing this stuff, doing these podcasts with you, and really, sitting. Usually, I'm like, coaching my buddies after they're deep in the thick of the relationship. But it's really interesting to see these, everybody falling for each other. How it's amazing how much humans, how we grasp at straws to build commonalities and just build our houses on. Oh, you like your favorite color is this, and then just go from there and just start stacking, and then blow by, like you said, some of the potentially. The Ultimatum guy says he basically wants to have kids. The other girl's doesn't think she wants it, but he spins it to like she's just not ready yet. But I can hear her saying she's ready. So it's so interesting. Yeah, when we really want something to happen, how hard we will, make it happen to avoid being alone and to avoid not being picked. I think is kind of a common theme I'm seeing on these these reality shows we're watching.
Yep. And I think, and so I would say, like, if you're listening, like, these things seem to always blow up later. And I know on this show, we're going to find out what happens. But, and then she says yes to the engagement, you know, and then they do like an interview with her and she was like, oh, I did this before. And one of the questions that I've even been asking myself is like, you know, with my marriage number one, like there were a lot of things that were there that I sought to, change or shift in, you know, in my marriage now. And some of those things are still even showing up. And I'm like, huh. So instead of saying like, I'm going to pretend it's not there, I'm actually super curious. Like, what is it that's still unresolved inside of me? Why does this keep showing up? What is the lesson here for me to learn? And that's, you know, what we can do with hindsight. And so for those of you who are listening, if you're in a situation like this and you have this little voice that's like, maybe, you know, maybe this really is an issue. My suggestion is to not just stop at the tip of the iceberg with the conversation, but just keep going with it, right? Like keep being curious, follow it through. So and that's what we do when we coach our clients with their non-negotiables. We actually encourage, and as part of our process is like, well, then how does that show up? Like if he has a value around X, like then how does he solve problems? How does he manage stress? How does he, you know, how does he make decisions? How does he prioritize things? And so if that's coming up for you, I'm just saying don't ignore it. It doesn't mean like break up with the person or run away or lean in. It just means like continue the conversation so that you can have all your expectations that you don't even realize you have articulated and discussed.
That's great. What are some ways that a gal or guy listening to this can know and really identify and make sure they can hear the that inner voice inside them and listen to it that's, you know, asking you to pump the brakes or pay attention versus oftentimes that screaming voice we have inside of us, like, we can't be alone anymore. We've got to go, you know, we've got to procreate or whatever it is that's driving us to do this madness called dating. How can we make sure we hear those inner voices? And what are some signs that they're trying to be heard, but maybe we're not paying attention?
In the show, I mean,
in life.
In life. I mean,
you did it too, you mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just that we have a internal guide, a northern star, so to speak. And I think that some of us never find it. Some of us hear it and ignore it. And I wish I had a quick answer, but I think the best way is to just acknowledge that it's there for a reason. And instead of saying, why am I doing this? Or I'm so stupid, or what should I do? The answer to the what should I do starts with looking at yourself, you know, because then you have something that you can manage, that you can dive into, that you can reflect on, that you can journal on, right? And that's going to give you clarity. And when we're asking, like, what should I do, whether it's a work situation, a love situation, you know, should I quit this job? Should I go for that job? Should I move? Should I take that new apartment? Right? It's the question isn't there because you don't have clarity, right? You don't have that insight. And so the best way to do that is to ask different questions to get clarity and insight that will lead to the awareness and the answer. And then also knowing that sometimes, and this is a really big thing, like the woman on the show, Shayna, like she probably knows the answer, like is not to say yes. And she kind of alludes to that in the interview. But she doesn't have the courage to make a different choice. Right.
Totally. And she was tearing up and crying in the end because I think she didn't listen to herself. I think like you mentioned, I think she really let herself down. But she got a second chance and she blew right past it again. And I'm sure that was painful to her, right? Not sticking up for her, for what she really wants and needs and not listening to her gut.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So let's talk. So this continues, right? With this idea about ignoring. And there's a scene in there where Jarrett is talking to Ayana. Is that how you say her name? Ayana?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And she shares that she was, which is very vulnerable, that she was sexually assaulted, and that's really a brave move. And then he like wants to meet her there, which I like that. And he says, you know, and again, this is edited, so I don't know my advice. This is a public service announcement. I have no idea what the whole conversation was. The part we saw was him saying, yeah, I've never told anybody this, not even my friends or family, which is like question mark.
Yeah. Right.
Pink flag.
Pink flag. Yeah. Why the hell are you telling me?
Well, because it's not something. It's something that's really hard to hide, which is I was stabbed. I woke up in the hospital with tubes in my nose, and I didn't remember how I got there. So I'm really, first of all, I'm like, well, how did your family not know that you were in the hospital? Yeah. And your friends? Did you disappear?
Yeah.
Are you a guy who just goes dark? Like,
yeah.
And then she gets emotional because he's sharing a vulnerability. And then we don't see her asking any follow-up questions. I mean, I think she is so concerned with his sharing and his vulnerability and this is huge, I think, feeling special. You know, like he never told anyone this, so I'm special. Wow, I get the little part of you, and that makes me feel needed and like I belong. And I think talk about love is blind. Does it blind her to like, dude, like who do you hang out with? Like, is that a thing in your community? Like, or is this a person that like, you know, you grew up with, but then you didn't know they were a person who carries a knife? Like, I'd like some context to that conversation, and why, and how did your family not know you were in the hospital? How long were you in the hospital? Have you gone to therapy about that? Like, are you, you know, because the thing that was amazing about that conversation, I think this is a great date question, maybe like the third date. The guy says,
have you been stabbed?
No, he says, so do you have any traumas from your past that you feel like you haven't dealt with yet? That's a great date. I think that's an awesome question.
That was Jarrett who asked that?
Yeah.
He has great, he actually seems to be like one of the best, highest level communicators out there, at least the one still left in the pond trying to find love. I'm really impressed with his communication so far, when asked, you know, and talking at least.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like he starts off with super high marks. I'm like, yeah, great question. She shares, he shares, and then she just drops it as far as we know, because that's how it was edited. So the thing is, if you hear something like, you may not hear, yeah, I was stabbed. That's really extreme. But let's say it was, you know, when I was 6, my mom left me, you know, and my grandmother raised me. And you go, oh my God, that must have been so hard for you. And then you just drop the conversation, right? Or you like feel that special feeling, you know, like, wow, this person confided in me. I don't want to like follow up because they're feeling vulnerable right now. It's like follow up, you know, like, wow, how did that impact you? Is that like, you know, what was going on for your mom at that time? How, you know, what did that do to your relationship with your mom? Do you, you know, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, if you hear something that's concerning to you or odd or whatever it is, I was in jail. I have a DUI. I'm not allowed to see my children anymore. Like, these are all things that very nice people that present on the outside, and I have no judgment. My husband's a recovering alcoholic, believe me. So it's just like, ask the questions.
Yeah.
Ask the questions.
I love it. Also, I got a little point of contention with, and gals usually do this, with being told something that is not supposed to be told, and or I'm the first person to hear it, or please, you got to promise you're not going to tell anybody else. Those are all when people start sharing that thing with me, you know, as if I'm in this special group or whatever that's you know, now bestowed upon this secrecy or in this little pact. there's a lot that comes with it. And I would like to slow down and figure out, well, wait, why the hell haven't, in this case, yeah, like Jared, well, why doesn't your family know? Or why haven't you told your friends? Hold on, because these are people, yeah, you were stabbed by, with your friends or whatever. So many more details that comes out. I get a little bit uneasy when people are sharing, because it also lets me know, wait, are they going to share my secrets then too, with other people, and just and swear them to secrecy? People who break secrecies and that sort of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. And I think
like
that's
that.
also, yeah, it's just like, these are all flags,
Yeah.
And here's the thing. And so, I've been watching this show, Nashville, and the daughter's dating this guy who's kind of like possibly got some red flags. And the mom says this, and that's how I feel about all my listeners. She says, look, I ended up, with an alcoholic, right? And we've been through some really hard times and we're in a good place now. But just remember, you deserve to be happy. She says that to her daughter. And that's how I feel like with all my listeners, right? Like, we've all dated guys that have pasts and challenges, because we all
Sure.
do. And it's like, and remember, especially at the beginning, and we've talked about this a lot of times on our show, together, you and I, like, you've been dating this guy for 3 months or 5 months or 6 months. You're not married to him. You haven't been with him for 5 years and you're like in a commitment. There are these points in the early parts of dating where we find out these things that, like, and I have clients that it's like, oh, but I'm, committed. I'm like, okay, reality check. You've known this person for 3 months. Just ask yourself the questions, because remember, ultimately, yes, everyone has had their past, but also, you deserve to be happy. And remember, sort of like, you're empowered around that journey. So
That's true.
Let's see what happens with that one. Okay, here's another one. I love this. What are their names? Oh, Deep D and Shake.
D.
Yes.
Yeah, Shake.
Okay, so here's what I said to Jeremy. We're watching this. This guy, he's like, he's Indian. He's like, I usually date white blonde girls. Like, I'm overly focused on what people look like, blah, 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 blah. And but, I don't know I don't remember how they came to find out that they are both Indian. I thought that was kind of interesting that they had this common culture. They have the same culture. And so they found that familiar. I think he says, like, I found someone who totally gets me. We have so much in common. I thought that was super, super cool. And then he realizes, he has this epiphany, like, it's not about that. It's this deeper connection. And that's really what I'm interested in. And then they meet each other and he finds out she's hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he is like watching his face. He's like, oh my God, like, she's cool and I want to fuck the shit out of her.
Yes.
And then he grabs her ass and he's like, I want to make you pregnant. I'm like, is that cute or is that weird?
The internet is so divided on that one, and they're both neither of them are moving. They think it's either extremely endearing and cute, or extremely pukey and gross, and saying that a lot of people think he's still like a grown-up fraternity douchebag. Who's going to, and as soon as he gets over, maybe he is still focusing too much on the physical. He's almost a little too happy about what he just professed and says, you know what, it's not that important. He's like, just kidding. It's really important, and I won the lottery.
Yeah, well, I think so. I'm on the fence. I'm neutral. Yeah, because I think, like, he set himself up or convinced himself that love is blind, right? And that it didn't matter what she looked like. And I think he's just so shocked. And she says, I used to be 70 or 80 pounds heavier, so he's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. I really love this person, or I'm in love with this person after 7 days, parentheses, whatever. And I think he's just more like, oh my God, I just got artist passes to Coachella. Like, I can't believe it. Yeah. It was going to be fun anyway, but now I got this. So, and I love that he, squeezed her ass and, felt that connection. So I don't know. I'm on the fence with them. I don't know what it's going to turn out, but I think it's interesting that there's a similarity of culture that feels really safe and lovely, and I think that's great that they felt that. And also, I love that and this isn't, so they could have discussed this more, and again, we didn't see it, but she says there's this tradition in Indian culture where the woman touches the guy's feet. And she's like, I'm not doing that shit. I feel like it's super old fashioned. And I wonder if they had a conversation that we didn't see that was sort of like, yeah, like for a lot of people who have immigrant parents, right? It's sort of this thing of like, I hear this with my clients all the time. What parts of the culture are we going to keep and what parts are we not? And having those conversations with the partner. And so I hope they had that conversation. But then in the end, when they meet, it's cute. He touches her feet because he's like, no.
Her feet.
Yeah. He's like, you're like, you know, I look up to you. You're amazing. You're the queen. So I don't know. I'm liking him so far.
She also calls him by his Indian name, Avi, or something like that, and not his cool American name, Sheikh, that his friends gave him as well. Almost another nod to like, I see you for you, is how I took it, at least.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. Okay, so now we have to talk to, because the episode was called like the love triangle or something like that. The biggest, like, this guy needs to go on The Bachelor because he's just that big of a douchebag. I think he'd thrive there. Shane. Okay, there is no way to slice it or dice it where you go and ask someone to be your girlfriend and then you have flirty conversations with someone else. And the way that she's like, do you tell Natalie that, you know, you're her girlfriend? He's like, why are you asking that? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
why do you even care?
Why do you even care? Like, what are you wearing? You're so hot. And it just reminded me of that guy who like, is such a douchebag that he's like, yeah, I'm going to have like the good wife. Right. But I'm going to totally fuck hot girls on the side. Like my relationship or my marriage or whatever is like, that's the right thing. Like I want to have kids and I want to have a family and I want someone to cook dinner for me or whatever. I don't know what the fuck. That's my little story I have. But like for sure, like that's not where I'm going to get my pleasure and like my sex and like my flirting. And I was just like, ew, you're gross. I don't know. What did you think? I mean, do you think there's any redeeming fucking Shane?
So what you're saying is
run away from that guy.
What bugs you is that, look, the guy's clearly got a lot, a bag full of issues and things he needs to work on. But what's even sad, what's disappointing to you is that he's splitting his joy, and like little fuckers like he's trying to give his like sexy time love away to another girl, and he's got to get his rocks filled and his security. Oh, I like her because she likes me. Thing with Natalie, and and then Natalie's maybe a person who's almost like he's training her to just live off crumbs, so he can go ahead and have a completely separate relationship.
Yeah,
that is interesting. Yeah, they are. That is kind of he's a different person. We haven't got to see that yet on any thing we've been watching. But he's a whole different dude. He's in a different relationship. With
yes. There's like the Christian Anderson used to call it like the Madonna complex or whatever. Like there's this woman that's like your wife, like that's the good person, and then there's this you just want to fuck hot girls, like. Yeah. And that's like Shane is the guy that like 10 years from now has like a family on the side or something like that. I don't know. He's just a weird dude. What really makes me like sad and confused, to be honest, is at the end I had to rewatch it because I was like, I'm gonna propose to this girl, she's amazing, we've had these deep talks, and then Shayna's there and she says, I have feelings for you, and he's like, oh man. And I'm like, Shayna is a hot mess. She's said yes to somebody who she doesn't share faith values with, but then the guy who basically is cheating on his girlfriend, you tell him you like him.
Right.
What? Who are you? So she is a person who does not listen to herself. Like she knows something's off with the other guy. And maybe to compensate for that, she just wants the quick fix of like the other guy because she just wants someone to fill the hole. She wants to win.
you've been coaching your gals for a long time, and they get themselves in some sticky situation. What the hell is it about Shane? Why the fuck does this guy have two girls on his nuts? I'm so confused.
I don't know,
you
Chris.
Gotta know. Come on,
I swear. I'm like, so here's the thing. My daughters FaceTime me, some of them every day, like depending on who they're, like we have a really great close relationship. But there's just, and this is totally sexist, but when a guy's like, I FaceTime my mom every day, I'm like, what? Like, I don't get it.
That's true.
I know that's sexist. Like, I'm glad he FaceTimes his mom every day. But what I was thinking is this.
You just got yourself on there. You're like, wait a second.
I know. And I'm sorry. If you have sons and you FaceTime them every day, just tell me to fuck off. Because that's really fucked up that I said that. But the thing that is concerning to me is this. Okay, so here's the story I made up. Because, again, I know nothing. This kid has this, his mom, he's the kid that could do no wrong, right? He was like the kid who was like, he got, an A in track and a C in math. And his parents were like, oh, math is dumb. You're amazing. Like, he's like, or he didn't win the track meet. And they're like, no, everyone else is fucked up. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Like he just gets told he's great a lot. And he needs a lot of validation. And so he just wants people to like him. So he's charming and he's, I guess, funny, I guess. Not to me. No, I don't think any of those things. But I could just, he's open. Like the thing where he said, like, he got the girl the In-N-Out burger and he's like, honey, like with me, I'll get you whatever I want. I feel like that's a little old style Chris Gillis.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean?
Said,
like you were like,
he says, I'll get you whatever I want, or I'll get you whatever you want.
Whatever you want. No, he's like,
okay.
He's just like, he's really like, he can make you feel special in a moment. Do you think that was old style Chris Gillis? Like you just knew what to say to make sure girls feel special in the moment. Like it's a crumb, but it is like a cupcake, that crumb. Yeah. It's so big.
Yeah, no, I think it is. Yeah, there's a power I kind of beating a dead horse here, but I'm just noticing, maybe now that I'm seeing it everywhere, but I'm noticing that these people are starving to be seen and to be in some sort of club and to be accepted by somebody. And yeah, he was pretty good, but he sees everybody though, right? But probably because he wants to be seen so incredibly badly, and appreciated. So he sees these gals, and it makes them feel so, like they're the only one on earth when literally there's another one coming in the pod in 30 minutes.
Well, maybe he instinctually knows what the black hole is. Like with Shayna, he's like, you're so hot, you're so hot, you're so hot.
Yeah.
And with Natalie, he's like, you're so special, you're so special, you're so special. I'll do anything for you, right? And so he's good at maybe figuring out what the dark side is and then shining light on that. But I'm here to tell you, like, don't fall for that shit. And
no,
like our friend Matt Boggs calls it the silent movie. And I will forever use that because I just don't think of any other better way to put it. But like this guy can be saying whatever he's saying, but like, look at his actions. And so in the end, he basically asked someone to be his girlfriend. Then he's flirting with you and telling you're hot. And if he did it with you, then one day you're going to be boring and he's going to go do it with the next girl. So don't get yourself in a love triangle. Just walk the other way.
Okay. What do you think? It seems he has this childlike enthusiasm about anything. Oh my God, you love purple. I love purple. And it gets people all gassed up. I'm like, oh shit. And he's got this contagious, infectious energy about him. And you see him, he's literally like spinning off the couch, Marni. He fucker can't. Right. He's like sitting upside down on the couch in a way I've never seen a little.
He's like laying on his stomach. It's so weird.
But he's on the floor and his legs are on the couch. I'm like, what in the world? I wish Dr. Emily was on here or somebody just, specialized in child psychology to figure out what is it, ADHD, what the hell is going on here. Again, there's nothing is wrong with it, but I'm just trying to. He's so interesting to watch because he drives you nuts. I know he drives all these women nuts, and yet these girls keep coming for him. So I'm like, ladies, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Check yourself. Like, stop.
Yeah, life check yourself, bitches. Like he is
What in the world?
no
And it's not
bueno.
because he has a smooth baritone voice.
No,
right?
God, no, that's the other thing. He's kind of got like well, I'm not even going to say. Just like he's one to watch. What's going to happen is, and I remember this from the first season of Love is Blind, is when they all get together and they have to hang out, you know that he's just going to be flirting. Like Shayna's going to say yes to whatever that kid's name is.
Mark.
Yeah, and then
Mark,
it's just gonna be it's gonna be messy. That's my prediction. Okay, here's the other thing. Oh my God, we've just been going for so long. There's so much to talk about. Okay. You put this on here in your notes, and I thought this is really funny. When a guy is in love with his pet, and I think we have listeners who are ladies who are in love with their pets, and that's fine. I'm sitting here right now looking at my two sons, Fergus and Simon.
You had to fight for your son, by the way.
I did have to fight for my son.
You fucking fought hard.
I do. When I say the word cat, they look up. It's so funny. Like they know who they are. Anyway, they're in my office today. But if my fiance said to me, my dog has been looking for a mommy for a long time. I don't know. I think for some people, their pets are their children, and I'm not going to, I don't know. I don't think that's a red flag unless this is now here's the thing. I had a client once. Oh my God, I love this story. She was dating a guy who had a fur baby, like it was his child. And it was, and I can't remember the situation. They had to take the dog to the vet. I can't remember, but it was raining or snowing or there was some inclement weather, something like that. And the boyfriend was like, I want the dog to sit in the front seat with me and you sit in the back.
No.
Yeah. And then there was some sort of like almost accident or some situation, and the boyfriend saved the dog, like went to protect the dog and not her.
Jesus.
The dog always it had to sleep with them, sleep in the middle of them. Everything. The guy's life revolved around the dog, but she ended up being like, this is the final straw when there was some accident in a car and the boyfriend tried to save the dog first. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I'm out. So I think in that case, that might be concerning.
Mm-hmm. Also, a quick story. I knew a guy who was asking me for some advice. His fiance, the dog had to sleep in bed with him at all times, even when they were making sweet love, and the dog would try to bite his genitalia, and she refused to push the dog off, to remove the dog.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I can't even have sex with my pets in the room.
They got divorced.
Do you have
They ended up getting married, but he waited too long. I told him, no. We didn't listen to me. He went ahead and got married. And yeah, that dog took such extreme. It's interesting. Yeah, people, she gave all the love to the dog. And it sounds like this guy was doing it too. So they got the love to give, which has got to feel like, oh, cool, a lot of potential out there. But then it's also got to feel like terrible shit when he's reaching by, holding the dogs, making sure the dog's strapped into the seatbelt and holding it back. And giving all that love to there. So that's got to do a number on your mind. Or, yeah, it seems like she wanted to make love to the dog instead of my friend. And, oh, yeah.
But I want to know, do you have sex in front of, what's your cat's name? Squiggles?
Ziggy.
Do you have sex in front of Ziggy?
Hell no. I throw that little bastard outside the room or turn his eyes. Or even worse, he'll like kind of saunter in the room, and I'll realize like halfway through or when we're in the middle of it, he's like awkwardly staring. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not. My pets are my children. I'm not.
That was a big deal though with Dr. Emily and I. Is her fur baby? Yeah, and we had massive. I don't call it arguments, but yeah, they were heated. They were emotional about. Yeah, because I knew she had love and it was beautiful, but God damn it, she was obsessed with the cat, and I'm fiercely loyal and to my freedom or my perceived freedom, and so I saw already the cat would impinge on how late we could stay out, or if she could, I couldn't stay at my house for 3 days in a row because she had to go home and feed the cat. And it was, again, I'm definitely retarded in my growth as a man and accepting responsibility. So I'm not, but I'm definitely a good case study of where guys can go, good guys can go through there. And I was looking, I was like, oh shit. To me, it was like having, 3 hungry kids at home, and it drove me absolutely nuts. And it took a long time for her. And I think what I wanted to hear from her is like, you know what, I do love the cat. But exactly what I said, she literally had to say, and I had to believe her and really get the point, come to clarity that I take precedence in a relationship over the cat. And I think that's what I was worried about at first, because when you first start dating somebody, yeah, it's not normal to say, hey, I love you, but it's easy to say I love you to a cat who can't say I don't love you back.
Right. Well, they always love you back.
Hey, they do. Yeah, hopefully. Cats are I think he's kind of an asshole sometimes. He doesn't always love you back, but that makes it even sweeter when he does. but it was going for. But I think I was a little annoyed. I'm like, God, Lord, all this love and head scratches go to the cat, and I'm like, I want the head scratch more than he does. He's trying to get us to move away. But it's a safer, and people have a very interesting relationship with their fur baby. So that's why I put it down on these notes, because it's worth taking a beat and discussing. Like I said, I knew there was this, this beauty and this love inside my gal and Emily, and she's from the Midwest, so she's not overly emotive. You've been around her. She's not, crawling all over my lap, and she's not, doing a shake and PDA like Shake was and making out with me or whatnot. But she's able to do that with the cat, very, very easily. So I knew it was in there and it could unlock it. But in the beginning of the relationship, yeah, it was a little annoying that she was so easy to show love and put, and give precedence and for that cat. But I was like, where are we at though? Where is that love? And is this guy am I gonna be in the backseat in her life with the cat?
I think they're all good questions. So far, I don't know what's going to happen about my dog's been looking for a mommy. We'll see what happens with Nick and Danielle. We didn't see them in episode 2 because they already are off, doing what they're doing because they got proposed. They already had their proposal. I'm excited as we wrap up this episode. I'm super excited for them to get out of the fucking pods and into reality, because Reality Raina said that's when it gets really juicy. Although I think it's juicy, but hopefully they'll be out of the pods soon. I think what I'm really enjoying so far about this is, number one, these are people in their 30s, so they're not 20-year-olds. Most of them. Nothing against 20-year-olds if you're listening. It's like, I just think they're asking different questions. I liked, what's his name? I can't remember, who asked Mallory about, he didn't know what she did for work. And she was like, I'm financially independent and I have a home. And, I like the conversations that they're having. I think it's going to be really fun to see if even if you have those conversations, you've only known each other for like 7 days or 10 days, is that enough to decide to like make a commitment? And I think while one would say that's ridiculous, what I do want to point out and life check all of you on is that when you have a good, really awesome first date or an awesome second date or a third date, some of you, like, you decide you're not going to see other people. You turn off your match. You decide you're going to you overinvest in that one possibility. And while you would laugh, like, who the hell would get engaged? You emotionally sort of make some commitment to the possibility of this thing based on what you know. And people will say to me all the time, Chris, I went on, he meets all my non-negotiables. I'm like, you've gone on 2 dates with him. No, but he does. And what we're seeing here is there's a lot of words being said in these conversations. And what's going to happen is, in real life, do their actions match? And that's what's going to be really fun. So I'm excited about that.
I love it. I'm excited that you're excited. I haven't seen you this fucking dialed in and stoked on something in a while. I know you got Matt James kicked the joy out. Kate did a number on, and then Clayton, let's not get started. So I'm glad that that you're able to. It's fun to have a new, fresh format and to see, like you said, these adults who are asking these. It's just a cool idea. These, I do wish, however, if I had my druthers, that I really enjoy seeing. I know you're excited to see them in real life and see what happens and how it fleshes out, but I enjoy the the courting process and they really, the getting, you know me, I love deep, interesting questions, exposing people getting stabbed and all. And
that's true.
Evolution and all right, oh fuck, this is interesting. This is juicy stuff. I can stick my teeth in. I actually really love this part. And questions and people scribbling each other's names on their notepad and, you know, like their children. And there's a lot of, it really, people seem to really open up when they can't hide behind their cool clothes, Instagram followers, rad haircuts and fashion. So yeah, this is a fun little experiment. I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah. And you know what else is interesting too is, it's like the art of conversation, right? And having and being sort of forced to do that, and it's kind of very old school, right? Because back in the day when I was growing up, you would all you could do was talk on the phone for someone for hours, and it also makes sense how people get into what I call faux relationships when they just are online and they're emailing people back and forth, right? And they never meet. And so you just can understand that feelings can grow and it makes it legitimate. But the bottom line is you still have to like go into the real world to see if you're actually compatible because, finding compatibility is easy. Getting back to compatibility is really, truly the test. So we'll see what happens.
I can't wait.
All right, Mr. Gillis. Ladies, listen to this episode again. Rewind it. Which of these things might you want to work on? And then, as I do say at the end of every episode, don't just listen. Do something. Life check yourself. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.